Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today let's talk about Loop Hero. Loop Hero is a top-down roguelite deck builder of a game, loot dropper, dungeon crawler, whatever you want to call it. I bought this with my own money, so that's a little disclaimer there. Loop Hero has a fashionable lo-fi aesthetic and chip-tune soundtrack, and it looks like it was made like 35 years ago. But it is fun to see that there's still games out there that sort of use that old aesthetic. You don't need beautiful graphics to make an amazing game, I think. Now, a pixelated hero starts at campfire and walks around this loop of a dungeon within a dark void. And the hero will automatically start to fight monsters in the loop. And monsters drop loot that you can use to outfit the hero with better stuff, better swords and armors and rings, all kinds of different gear. And it's a lot of fun to sort of try and build up your hero with that gear. As I said, gear has different numbers, and a higher number doesn't mean always that you need to use that gear on the hero, because most gear also has a secondary attribute. Like, for instance, I love to build my hero with evasion, so I'm always picking stuff with a certain amount of evasion, a sword with evasion, a plus an armor with evasion percentage, and a ring with evasion. Altogether, that hero is almost unbeatable, for instance. So there are various ways to build your character, and there's also cards that are dropped. And with the cards you can fill in the void around and inside the loop, and to spice up the dungeon, so to speak. Adding more enemies, like for instance a graveyard will spawn certain treasures. You can add a vampire house, so you'll fight vampires, or a hive with spiders and all that. So you can make it more difficult for your hero to fight more monsters, and that will give you more loot. Essentially, you have to figure out what the cards do and what combos work best, potentially getting the best results for resources as well, like wood, stone, and put them all together. And it's really fun to figure that out. It really becomes a sort of balancing act. You don't want the hero to fight too many enemies, because you'll have this chance that you'll die, and then you basically lose the loop. You'll lose a lot of resources. So when it gets too hard, hopefully you have picked up some cards that you can use to decrease the number of monsters that the hero will fight. And you can even get cards that sort of clear out a tile with monsters altogether. And you have to do that for survival sometimes. And if you succeed long enough, there's this bar that sort of fills up, and then the end boss will spawn for you to fight. And then if you beat the boss, you will effectively finish the loop and move on. But along the way, you sort of start to feel, you're not ready for the boss. You can't, there are too many enemies. They're hacking away at you. Your hit points are running low. You can always choose to return to the campfire for a price, so you lose a bunch of materials. But again, that's sort of a balancing act. You're trying to look for, am I going to win this loop? Am I going to return to the campfire? It's really up to you. And once you have gathered a bunch of materials, you can add and upgrade various additions to your campfire, like a smithy and a farm and all kinds of stuff. So you have a better starting position, you have some buffs, you have some better stats, that sort of stuff. And then you start the next loop. So again, it has elements of deck builders, dungeon master type of games. That did remind me a little bit of Populous and Power Monger, these god games of back in the day. And it's really clever and really smart. Although the lo-fi graphics can get quite messy at times when there's a lot going on and you've filled up the void quite far into the game. Furthermore, there isn't much else to do than to play the cards that you're dealt and swap out the gear of the hero. So you're not really fighting yourself with the enemies and stuff. Also, the nature of the game is that it can get repetitive as you're doing the rounds, hoping for good cards and gear to drop. So there's also this factor of chance involved, which can frustrate as well. You know, and sometimes you just get into a bad situation and you just have to say, okay, you know, this loop is not going to work. Let's go back to the campfire. And I spent like 10 hours before I beat the first boss. Can you imagine that? I mean, I think there are like 4 bosses to beat in this game. And it's just a fun game to have sitting on your hard drive, just starting it up at times and then trying these different loops. It's pretty smart, and it's a testament. You don't need super duper graphics to make an amazing game. So yeah, Loop Hero comes highly recommended. Let me know what you think and see you next time.